Hello again. I'm Dave Gibson, managing editor of Third Wednesday Magazine, the quarterly journal of literary and visual arts. My guest today is Katherine Edgren. Katherine grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, now lives in Dexter, Michigan. She was first published at the age of 17 under her maiden name, Kathy Cool. She's retired from a long career in social work and served for 3 terms on the Ann Arbor City Council. She's a graduate of the University of Michigan with an A.B and an M.S.W. Please welcome Kathy Edgren.
Thank you so much for that introduction, David. I really appreciate it, and I especially appreciate the opportunity to be promoted and marketed by Third Wednesday and the Poetry Society of Michigan. That's really great. I'm going to read a few poems from my book, Keeping Out the Noise. And in the book, I explore the ways we contend with pain and grief, all a variety of ways. The first poem I'm going to read is called The Pelicans. And, okay, here we go. The Pelicans. I can't zero in on one the way Elizabeth does with her sandpiper. There's no the pelican, only pelicans. What's riveting is their tight crowd on the stony breakwater, resembling rocks themselves. So many, a few more and they'd be menacing. It's a Christmas morning of pelicans, a Woodstock of pelicans, a colony, conference, mob, with dazzling plumage in this pod that gleams so whitely in morning sun, perching, floating, fishing, scooping. Quiet for a crowd with orange pencil-colored beaks. Those wearing a beak bump are breeding males, nothing subtle here, looking for food and love, sharp-elbowed with black-tipped wings, long tufted heads, and crazy punk hairdos, resembling a forest of umbrellas hung out to dry, closing and opening to float up like Mary Poppins in 1s, 2s, 3s, scouts, search parties, squadrons, wing beats slow, metronomic, fluttering softly like muffled clapping or cards shuffling. Superb at soaring, so oddly but effectively designed, these graceful dirigibles, like those heavy jets that ferry armored cars or equipment, seem too heavy to fly. Over the week, there's more wing flapping. Perhaps it's growing too hot out on the rocks, or the fish are gone after spawning. Groups circle overhead like beneficial angels, and their numbers shrink until they're countable, leaving only a few pair to haunt the lake and the Mississippi that runs through it. Enough to make kayakers and fishermen look skyward and ask, are those pelicans? What shall I call them? A visitation of pelicans, a feast of pelicans, a wow of pelicans, an ecstasy of pelicans, a transience of pelicans. And why do they stir me so? They're like anything beautiful, strange, or rare, like anything you didn't even know you were waiting for that's finally arrived. The next poem is called My Husband in the Installation of the Cabin Shower. And it's a shorter poem. You fought the white-winged dragon, backed plastic laminate into a corner, inhaled sawdust smoke, crawled the depths to wrestle with drains, wedged new knees and a humbled body into a dark cave, banged skull and knuckles, wounded arms, as you drilled irrevocable holes in a watertight cubicle, glued, screwed down, and caulked up what might leak, hung doors with wayward rollers, tested one shower head after another, my faithful plumber. And when at last you turned it on, it was conquered. And after you shined it till it gleamed, you bestowed it on your cabin mate, your princess, your queen. The next one is called After Bad News. After bad news. Steep in it, Let it grow more and more astringent. Watch it thicken, gather richness and consistency. Then sit with it until it boils over or away. Sit with it like hunger, you won't expire. Sit with it like thirst, you won't faint. Sit with it the way you'd sit with a child with a tummy ache. Sit with it like a scar that fades but never vanishes, like joint pain when a storm is coming, or when what's broken takes its own sweet time to heal. Even when it scrapes and hollows you out, sit with it. Sit with it the way the old sufferers did, practicing patience instead of panic. Consider randomness, confront chaos, vines draping shoulders like a mourning shawl. Sit with the shame of it. Without plotting revenge, sit with it and be curious. Sit with it and forgive. Sit with it the way you sit with someone when there's nothing left to say. Practically speaking, if you don't sit with it, it will sit on you, wake you in the small hours. If you need to, tell yourself it has great potential. If you need to, tell yourself there's beauty in it. Sit with it like the bud of an idea and see if it blooms. Open your fist, hold its hand, sit with it until you believe it, because every bit of what you sit with is your precious life. Next one's a little darker, short. It's called Coroner's Office, Memphis, 1972. Every afternoon I'd steel myself before shuffling through the Polaroid stack left on my desk corner for filing. Dead bodies from the day before, evil rashes of shotgun wounds, the surprised eyes of those who knew they were goners glaring back at me. Drownings, bodies puffed up like small whales, suicides by gun to mouth or head. I am still haunted by the wild eyes of the speed addict who OD'd in the closet, and by the thick ascaris worms crawling out of the orifices of children as they cooled. Children who had played in a parasite-laced sandbox in the city of neglect and despair. The next one is called Last Times. Last Times. Breaking track in the shelter of fragrant pines is over for us. Our knees and hips protest. Instead of storing skis and poles forever, we donate them to a resale shop. The last time had come and gone. You always know the first time, but rarely see the last one coming. Afterwards, in the rear view mirror, you glimpse the fork in the road, that eternal detour, as you hear the clunk of the curtains fall. Your parents pick you up and set you down so many times, and being carried is like riding an elephant, an enormous luxury. Eventually, you grow big or heavy, too self-sufficient, or want to go faster, and they stop. So many last times, the last warm day, last snow, last menstrual blood, pre-pandemic, the last time soaking in a hot tub filled with chatty women, the last time I sang beside others, the last feeling of safety. The last time I saw my brother, now a stranger, the last time I saw my mother, her powdery pink skin, thin bones visible beneath, the look of desperation I wasn't able to erase. The last time I saw clearly before eye surgery or slept without pain. What would be different if I knew it was the last time we'd wake together in the same bed? Would I try to say something wise? Say thank you? Apologize? And I have two more. This one is called Rehearsal. Waking, I place fingertips on the pulse of night and day, dark and light, and see there is still time and life. Resurrected, I can dismiss or confront glimpses granted, dancing in the arms of those who've gone, flying, diving, swimming with giant fish, watching teeth crumble, listening to talking babies wearing dirty diapers, steering cars without brakes over flooding roads. I can stare at morning's clean page or sense coiled springs in a body longing to be soft. Then too, there are mornings I can't recall what or whether I dreamt, only certain that sleep was like chocolate, deep, dark, delicious. In this nightly rehearsal, this sliver of oblivion, this toe dip, this chance to ask, was the void so bad? Death's always clanging counterpoint between a too short waking life. Okay, for the last one, I'm going to read a new poem. It's not in my book. And it's a diptych of sonnets inspired by our new Pulitzer Prize winner, Di Seuss. It's called Out There. This is the first one. Sally asks what I mean when I describe the poet as out there, and I tell her it has something to do with self-exposure. Not the trench coat man leaping from the bushes, nor the guy slowing his truck to ask for directions while fondling his lap, nor the girlfriend demonstrating how a speculum works. Why don't you try? But more of a stripper, a peep show worker, who must have plugged her ears when mother told her to keep her knees together, who reveals instead of runs from the details, because by telling, she is relieved, wised up, reader as therapist, reader as confessor. Poking, provoking with her sharp stick, she knocks you flat with her sin history, expects you to decipher, taste, translate, as she splays what floated up from her deepest, most solitary depths, so far from silence, braying, wailing. And then the second part of the diptych. She's really out there, fleshy, masked in black, but so over being body shamed, I cheer for her. Never holding back due to modesty or fear of what others will think, compelled and confident, hot she is to show and tell, to break rules, rip off masks. If she claims her untitled 14-line poem crafted with no particular rhythm or rhyme scheme and no turn as a sonnet, well, it is. She remakes us into critics, renders a choice between deafness or awareness, makes us ask, will this non-steroid inflammatory work for me? Is this the ice that will shrink my swelling? Always finding one more good line, vacillating between hinged and unhinged, balancing on the blade between whispering and howling, wrestling with the courage of her restrictions. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katherine. Once again, Katherine Edgren's new book, Keeping Out the Noise, from Kelsey Books, available from Kelsey or at Amazon.com. My name is David Gibson. Good night.